And well, we're already recording, so sorry for the podcast listeners, but this is the last week where we have to do it at 9:00 at night. And Joe and I have to decide what the new time is going to be, if we get to go back to 7:30 or what we want to do there. But we're definitely not going to continue doing 9:00 because it's too late.
I think a lot of people were all for the 7:30 time slot.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll have to talk about that. But
all right, we'll see if we can make that work. All right. So hi, I'm Dr. Megan Miller.
And I'm Joe Smith.
And this is We'll Decide Wednesday. Let's spin the wheel and see what we're going to talk about today.
You know, I'm not a great drummer. I try my best.
Oh, okay. Peak life / functional assessment, like functional from like a skills level, not like function-based assessment.
Okay.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to?
Yeah, I know you probably have a lot more to say about this topic. Like me, I know some peak and I know how to work it. So here, let me go ahead and start my timer. I have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to talk about this topic. And then we'll let the amazing Megan Miller, Dr. Megan Miller, talk about the topic as well. So my time starts now. All right. So for me, I never heard of peak until I started with a little company called Navigation Behavioral Consulting. That was Megan's and Lori's. And I was introduced this whole new assessment to be used called peak. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, why don't they teach this in schools? Of course, like, because I was going through my coursework at this time, and we didn't talk anything about relational frame theory, derived relations. We never talked about anything about peak. The most that I got exposed to was the VB map and AFOLs. Other than that, like, I wasn't exposed to much more. But I tell you what, now being in this field for as long as I have, there are so many different assessments that you can use for your learners based on where they're at. I love peak. I love the fact that it's really simple to run. I can get accurate data with it. And also I love to see the growth of my clients too. I love the fact that I can reference their scores compared to, and I always say it's neurotypical peers, their scores, what they would get on the assessment. And I love to see and compare the two. And then I can show that to the parents and say like, hey, this is where your son or daughter is at, and this is where kids her age should be at. And it's great because the parents really grasp that concept, and they also really understand the numbers that way. I have used other assessments, and it's more difficult to show and compare like where they should be at. So that's one thing about peak I really truly love. Let's see here. How many more minutes do I have? Actually, I am about out of time. There we go.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. It sounds like you're a little under the weather. Do you have a cold or something? Or just exhausted?
I want to say I'm exhausted, but yeah, I know my kids, they got colds. The one has an ear infection.
Yeah.
We're working through that right now through the house, like taking meds because for some reason, amoxicillin is aversive to them, even in a liquid form.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. So we're working through that. We'll get there.
There's definitely a ton of stuff going around right now.
Taylor's,
my son's sick for like the third time this fall. It's like Okay.
Like I kind of expected it just because like we've been isolated for so long that we haven't built up that immunity
Yeah.
over the past year and a half. So, now we're getting back into schools and our immune system isn't, adapted to, being exposed to all these different viruses and bacterias.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. Yep.
yeah.
My mom just joined on Facebook. So hi, Mom, Vicky. I don't know if anyone else there's a couple other people watching. Feel free to say hi as well. I'm gonna go ahead and do my 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then if anyone that's watching wants to share what they want about peak life, feel free. So Joe did an awesome job talking about peak in general. I can't remember who submitted this because we had people submit different topics. So there's a new aspect of peak that was in the works when I was running the peak training program, and it's called Peak Life, and it's all focused on skills that are more from a vocational and functional standpoint. I don't have the book yet, so I don't really have a ton to say about it. I don't know if anyone else has gotten it. I can tell you when I was doing the peak trainings, I had previewed some of it, and Dr. Dixon had created some resources, and I really liked how it was focusing on pulling in the research on relational frame theory into a functional program. And it was going to be formatted similarly with like a pre-assessment and all of those types of things. But I haven't seen it yet, so I really don't know that much about it. One of the things I am excited about with everything that Dr. Dixon does, and again, I haven't really stayed on top of it because it's just not the area that I'm working in right now, but all of their things have been created through the graduate program and conducting research. So that is one thing that's lacking in our field right now. It's not to say there aren't assessments out there, especially for vocational and things like that, and special education, but in our field, there's not. So similar to when Peak came out, and there was not sorry, someone's trying to get in. When Peak came out, VBMAP and the ABLES didn't really have research to support anything about them. And Peak did, they didn't even publish the books for public consumption until they had some research studies under their belt. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to with Peak Life, is to have, more research and things available in our field to support the types of skills that we're working on and the ways that we're teaching those skills. And especially if it's focused on generativity and derived responses, where you can get more bang for your buck and you're not having to explicitly teach every little thing. So I have it on my list of things to buy, even though I don't really have a use for it right now. Just so I need to stay on top of the new things as they come out. So that's mine. Trying to see how much time I have left now. Okay, my timer apparently didn't start, so we'll just say I'm done. I could have gone over 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm not really sure, but I don't have a timer. So we have, let's see, a few people: Cindy, Jessica, Michelle, Natalie. Do any of you have you used Peak Life yet? Are you familiar with it?
Peak Life? No, I've just used Peak, but Peak Life I haven't.
All right. I will drop a link to it in the chat so people can see it. Does anyone?
Yeah, I have used it some. Most of the people that I work with fall under TRICARE, which makes it tricky to use Peak Life because we're not allowed to work on those, what are they called? Activities of daily living with TRICARE. They just don't cover it. But what we can do is take the programs and break them down into what we can work on. So the reaching, the grabbing, the pushing. But the vocational aspect of this is amazing. So there's a program in here for allowing a solid food in your mouth, or what was another one I saw? Oh, request termination of an aversive event. I loved seeing that program in there so much. I think it's the first assessment and programs that I've seen where that is specifically listed in there for a learner to know or to learn how to terminate an aversive event, which that could be anything. So really teaching that functional no I thought was really cool.
That's
I
awesome.
love the Peak Life. I think it can be used for all learners. When I first heard about it from Dr. Dixon, I was thinking like, gosh, this would be really cool for like our older kids or adults that we're working with. But then when I look at the programs, like, no, this is great for everybody. Like touching something within reach. That's something we can work on with little. So I get really excited about it, even though my understanding of it is, pretty basic at best, but I really love it.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Michelle. Any of our
Now-
other, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, I know there's also an assessment called EFL, Essentials for a Living.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, like, how do they compare? Michelle, do you know by chance how they compare?
It's a great question. I think that the Essentials for Living probably breaks things down a little bit more than Peak Life does.
Yeah.
I mean,
And again, I
it's
haven't seen Peak, like the final product for Peak Life. I know like one of the big things with Essentials for Living is like the essential 8 skills and like getting people to focus on those. And then there's the different skill sets. I would be fairly certain, because I've never heard Pat McGreevy talk about relational frame theory, that there is 0 in there on that. But on the flip side, you know, Pat's a big precision teaching dude, so he's got a lot of fluency stuff. I don't know that Dr. Dixon, I know there's a little bit of fluency, sort of like it got shoved in at the last minute in Peak, but I don't know, for Michelle, have you seen in Peak Life if there's anything on fluency?
I haven't seen anything. I was just doing a quick flip through to see if maybe I've missed it, but I don't see anything in here for fluency. So that would probably be the biggest difference, would be EFL has it broken down with those like good to have, must have types of skills. I don't see anything like that in Peak Life.
Yeah.
That's cool though, that we have 2 assessments, but they're both can be used. Like I like that we have those tools.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to close out unless Natalie, Jessica, or Cindy, do you all have anything you want to add before we close off?
I think I just wanted to say, with the Peak Life, building on that hierarchy of discriminations, knowing that RFT is wrapped into it, there's a bit greater degree of, if you're having to quickly grab something and trying to use it as competently as possible, perhaps you're doing an assessment, or maybe someone's come back after a break. We are experiencing at the clinic I work at, and there's vastly different skills. And so you're going and grabbing it, you're trying to make a good decision about some things to immediately start probing, and the sequence or order, and just knowing that there's a bit greater research on Peak with the hierarchy of discriminations and building those frames is a confidence builder. And yes, AFLs is there, and ABLs, and you know, the Essentials for Life, but sometimes I find myself hopping around pretty quick, and so it's nice to have a bit more confidence in one of the choices you can grab.
Awesome. Thanks, Cindy. All right, we will go ahead and close out for tonight. Like I mentioned at the beginning, next week we will not be on at 9 o'clock. It will likely be 7:30, but Joe and I need to confirm that. So thanks everyone for joining us. And if you haven't seen it yet, I am doing a marathon workshop on Monday starting at 10 a.m. So check out the Do Better Collective Facebook page if you want more details on that. All right, bye everyone.
Have a great night, guys.